Hello and welcome to the Story Behind the Stories, your weekly look at the pages of the Neepawa Banner Press. Thank you very much for taking a little bit of your time this week and spending it here with us on NACTV. I'm Eoin, Devereux news reporter with the Banner Press, welcoming you to the show, joined this week by Casper Wehrhahn. Casper, good to have you in here this week to share some of the information from everything you gathered this week.
Yeah, good to be here once again, and much like the previous week, we seem to have a lot to get through today, Eoin.
Most definitely, and this is a good one because we get to talk about a lot of little good news stories here and there. Next week we get into the politics with the election coming up, but this is just your little reprieve, your little break from all that candidates and politics and campaigning. Next week we're going to hit you with that, but this week we're going to have some fun. And speaking of fun, the front page of this week's edition of the Banner Press is showcasing some stuff that was really going on over the weekend that looked like a whole heck of a lot of fun. Now, if you pick up a physical copy of the paper, you're going to be able to see much clearer the front page picture of some of the youth that were participating in the inaugural Fall Fever bike race put on by the town of Neepawa, and which took place at the Back 40 trail park right here in Neepawa. Now, that was a bunch of youth under 16. There were two different categories, under 11, under 16, that took part in a couple bike races. Just a little bit of fun, a couple prizes available here and there. And I gotta say, the turnout for it really seemed like it was really over the top. I was genuinely surprised, Casper, by the number of youngsters that were out there to take part.
Yeah, there really was a good crowd out there for that, and much like yourself, I really was impressed with it. It was a fantastic day for every one of them to be out there and participating in this event, and I have to say, they did really well. It was awesome to see them going around the different tracks that were set up for these races.
It happened on Saturday the 23rd. There was about 35 participants in total that were a part of it, and fortunately as well, the weather held out. It was a little overcast, a little cloudy, a little bit of fog that was rolling in. But fortunately, for the most part, we didn't get any major rain during the event. We didn't get any major sort of fog. Although, Casper, you did bring up something interesting because you were there for the U11 event. I wasn't. I showed up a little late for the U16. But you talked about a little bit interesting about the weather conditions for the trail.
Yeah. So as everyone knows, it was foggy that day, quite heavily. But from the start of when I was there, I was sort of up at the one end of the track, just scoping things out and seeing how the event was going to start for the first races there. And like I said, it was already foggy, but within like maybe half hour to an hour, I'd gone down from sort of the top of the tracks down to the other end of the tracks where things were really getting going down there. And just a bit after I got down there, you can see the fog from before, but just shortly after I was down there, the wind sort of blew, a nice good gust coming in, and with that gust, you could actually see another heavier layer of fog coming in, and it was just that much foggier, like right before your eyes. It was pretty neat to see, actually.
We got a little bit of the United Kingdom that came to visit us, I guess, when it comes to the fog.
Yep.
But it still turned out to be a wonderful day. Casper, you were down there for several of the events. I showed up just for one or two of them as well. We also have to send a shout out of appreciation to Jody Baker. Jody Baker Photography was able to get a couple shots as well. We got one of them on the main page. It's a montage of a couple different pictures. And Jody was able to get one where the cyclists were able to get a little bit of air off the ground. So she had that perfect shot at the perfect time. And hopefully you'll be able to pick up a copy of it, a physical copy of it, and see it for yourself. And again, if you're not able to, if you don't live in Neepawa or the surrounding area, or into Brandon, where we also have copies of our paper distributed, you can always find it on mywestmen.ca. It goes live on the website every Friday morning at around 9 a.m. Central Time. So if you can't actually have it in your hand, you can still see it online. So hopefully you will take a little bit of time and see it for yourself. Also appreciative of Nicole Cooper, who sent the results, actually, from the races. So we've got all the youngsters' names in there, all their times. So congratulations to every one of them that participated and did so well in the event. because it did look like a lot of fun. It did look like a lot of effort as well. I mean, I got slightly winded just walking up that little incline to a degree there. So it's nice that the youngsters got that type of energy in them to be able to do something like that.
And energy they did have, oh my goodness. I forget which race it was for, but actually at the end of one of them, it might have been the U11, one of the younger kids, they got to the end there and started going for another loop around the track. They were just so gung-ho. It was awesome.
Most definitely. And that's what really the Back 40 is all about. That trail park, it's a multi-use trail park focused on biking. It's got a walking path as well. That's what it is. It's about community in general, being able to enjoy it like that. And from the sounds of it, most definitely the youngsters over the weekend did. All right, let's shift our attention from cycling over to walking and running. We have an update on a story we talked about to a degree in last week's edition of the Story Behind the Stories. Casper, you've got the details now on how things played out on the Terry Fox run.
Yeah, it was a great turnout again this year. Of course, as we've mentioned previously, because I was down there, of course, on the ground on the day of, and we had a preview picture in, I believe it was last week's edition of the paper on the front page. But we have those results now, and it was like 106 people, which, yeah, that matches up. They did great for fundraising again this year. They had $11,303 raised, which is absolutely fantastic because a good chunk of each dollar actually does go directly to the research there. And you know, with an event like the Terry Fox Run, it's all volunteer-based and donation-driven, so they don't have any bills to pay for this event, which means all of the money that they have raised is going towards that, which is just absolutely fantastic. I did a little bit of an interview, of course, with the organizer, Dr. Kelly Krasaniuk, and she talked a little bit about the day there, her thoughts on it, and a bit of a personal touch to it as well, so make sure to check out that story on page 2.
That's right. Again, you can find out further details in this week's edition of the paper. Always appreciate Dr. Kelly, who has been a part of this event for so long. Ever since I came here myself, it was just over 9 years now. And some years I'll cover it myself. Some years it's been Casper or other reporters for the Banner Press. But the one constant and the one consistent over the years has always been Dr. Kelly. And we always do appreciate the information she's able to share with us about it so that we can share it with you. Another special campaign was on the go. All the charitable campaign events, that must be your beat this week, Casper. I'm thinking because we're going into the Walk With Us campaign, and you've got the details on that as well.
Yeah, I sure did have a lot of sort of physical activity and charity topics to cover for this week. And this one in particular, the Walk With Us campaign in benefit to the Manitoba Down Syndrome Society, was just another such fantastic occasion to get out to. And it was actually my first event, my first time being able to go to the event this year. And I have to say, I'm really glad I was able to make it down there. The family puts in a good effort. That is the Cox family. To organize it each and every year. And of course, I have some more background details on that in the story, so be sure to check it out once again in the physical edition of the paper. But they had a really good turnout again this year. Definitely well over 50 individuals, including, obviously children that were out there with their parents, and just a wide range of ages out there participating in this. And they got just under $3,000 this year, so absolutely fantastic once again. And I was pleased to note, I heard that there were some new faces there this year, which is always excellent. And it's a good event to raise awareness for this, for parents, and support them by just having a bit of a community through this event as well.
That is great. I mean, the 50 participants as well, to be a part of this and to see the value in it is so appreciated. Neepawa, for a community this size, we keep talking about how this community is growing and expanding and all that, and to a degree that's true, but we are still just a small town. We still have that sort of structure to us. But to see the number of people in this quote-unquote small town that see value in supporting these types of endeavors and step up and support these endeavors, both with their checkbooks, their wallets, their purses, and with their physical efforts is wonderful. It's fantastic. Just a little side mark as well. We've talked about Terry Fox Run. We've talked about the Walk With Us campaign. We had a submitted article this week as well from Stride Credit Union. Thank you very much, Stride Credit Union, for submitting this information to us. It is about their inaugural for the Neepawa Golf and Country Club. The STARS program is getting a huge check of $20,000 from Stride Credit Union to STARS, which is Shock Trauma and Rescue Service, for their first ever fundraising golf tournament that occurred here in Neepawa a little earlier this month. So wonderful that they were able to submit a couple photos for us, and they did our work for us, which always is appreciated. They actually submitted their own story, written up story, which is nice. I got to admit, from time to time, we do love getting out to these events and covering them ourselves, but from time to time we do enjoy being a little bit lazy. Sometimes there's only 24 hours in the day, so we do like to have a couple hours to ourselves there. So for STARS to be able to do that, send it to us so that we can share it with you, greatly appreciated. Wonderful. I'm not saying everybody do it, because then what are we going to do? We can't. We'll end up doing this show every friggin' day, I guess. Perhaps that'll fill the time. But until that happens, we're going to keep busy. Just keep writing and tracking down stories for you. So once again, thank you very much to STARS for sharing the details and the information, which you can find on page number 9 of this week's paper. So you'll be able to learn a little bit more about what they've been able to do. So, all right, let's get over all the happy, shiny stuff is sort of over with right now, and let's get into some of the nitty-gritty of municipal council. Some of the things that have been going on. I attended one of their recent meetings, and if you haven't had a chance, you can always see it on NAC TV. Representatives from the television station are always there to be able to record town council and bring it to you if you can attend. And judging from the attendance, you don't. Usually it's just me or Rain or Jeremy or somebody there in the audience, one or two people from time to time. But from what I've heard in the bits and pieces around the region, people do watch it on NAC TV on a consistent basis, as they should. Don't take this for granted, because I've worked in other markets, larger markets, that don't actually broadcast town council because they can't, because they don't have their own community radio or television station, I should say. Prime example is my time in Portage la Prairie, much larger market than Neepawa, nearly twice as big, nearly 3 times as big as Neepawa, but they don't have their own television station. They got a radio station, of course, and they do have a newspaper, more or less, but they don't have that television aspect of it. So it's always important to sort of realize that this is something special for a community this size. So definitely don't take that for granted. So I'm going off on a little side tangent. If you're a consistent viewer of the show, you know that happens from time to time. So let's get back to the council stuff we were talking about. There were 2 interesting things I thought that came out of council that were very intriguing. And one of them, most definitely, I wholeheartedly agree with, because it's a little pet peeve of mine. The recycling program in Neepawa, it's valuable. It has as much value, actually, as we put into it. So recently, they've been taking a closer look at the program, and they're seeing some things that they don't like, contaminations that are going into the recycling. And once you put certain things in there, things like straws, things like coffee pods or disposable coffee cups or lids, things you'd find from McDonald's or Tim Hortons, I use as an example, that contaminates the recycling as a whole. And if you get a certain amount in there, then the entire load is contaminated and it's just gone. They can't save it. It can't be done. Nothing can be done about it. So they're going to crack down. They've talked to the contractors who do the recycling and the garbage for the town of Neepawa. And don't worry, don't think that they're going to be digging through your garbage or digging through your recycling. To a degree, no, they're not doing that. But if you have recycling that's sort of popping out the top and they notice something very unusual or something very out of the ordinary, then they'll just sort of mark it or they'll leave it there. You know, it's like one of those cop shows. You got to have probable cause.
Yeah.
You know. You got a warrant. You got a warrant to look at those. Recyclings. Oh, yeah. So, but if they do see something that is out of the ordinary, they will note it, and they might not take your recycling. And if it becomes a consistent and constant problem, fines could be a reality. So that's the thing. Hopefully, people are mindful of this. Because I'm thinking historically, you know, there's been one or two times, there's been a few times where even myself where I think I'm relatively knowledgeable about what can and what can't be recycled. But I'm thinking now, oh, no, I threw that away. That was stupid of me. Or, oh, geez, that was in there. I got to stop doing that type of thing. So hopefully you will look at the provincial regulations for what is and what isn't allowed. And maybe keep that in mind when you're doing your recycling. Now, some of those examples I gave you, and you can find them in the newspaper article. I'll just read them out for you right now. Save you a couple seconds. Like I said, straws, not recyclable. I know somebody who used to recycle their cans, and the straw would still be in them.
Okay.
But fortunately, they don't do that anymore. Coffee pods as well, big no-no. Disposable coffee cups and lids, styrofoam. This is one that's kind of interesting. I would have never thought that people thought to do this, but apparently it is an issue, Casper. Clothing and textiles. I would have figured they would have brought them to, you know, the Value Village or Salvation Army or wherever you may have in your community. But apparently people just have been just throwing in their old shirts, their own old jeans or pants or whatever into recycling.
Yeah, that is definitely not something I would have thought of as being an issue. Like you said, my first guess would have been that, you know, it gets packaged and washed, whatever, and taken down to the thrift store as a donation, or, you know, if they don't need donations for whatever reason, if they're full up, then somewhere else that needs them, or, you know, maybe reused for, I don't know, a quilting project or what have you, or failing that, just toss it, I guess, which is unfortunate, but do what you got to do.
Yeah.
But I never would have thought recycling.
No, most definitely. And the other ones as well, aluminum foil and plates and plastic pouches and laminates. An example they use for that is potato chip bags. I'm sure all of us have partaken in a chip or nacho or something along those lines in the last week or two. So don't be throwing those into recycling because you can't do it. And of course, one I didn't put in there as well, pizza boxes are a huge no-no. Don't put pizza boxes into the recycling. Hopefully you're not one of those ones that is doing these types of things and contaminating the system. But if you are, you know, forgiveness begins at home. So just moving forward, just if you can sort of keep mindful of that, that's going to keep things going for Neepawa's recycling efforts. And so that's about it. So if you want to find out a little bit more, you can find that story. It is on page 6 of this week's edition of the Neepawa Banner Press, with another story from Council, which is a little more positive spin to it. The town of Neepawa is going to be working on a new volunteer database that you can find online. You can find the links to it on social media, or if you're not technologically inclined, you can go down to the town office and you actually pick up a physical copy of the application, fill it in, bring it back to the town office, and they'll format it in the computer. So what this is going to be actually, and I found this interesting, Casper, is that they are going to be taking this information down, putting it in the database, and being able to match up people who want to volunteer with certain events through the year. That way, let's say, for example, the most recent one coming up, the Christmas parade. Let's say that. let's say you wanted to volunteer for the Christmas parade. Instead of going down there in November or early December, well, actually it'd be past the Christmas parade by early December. So let's say November. Yeah, you missed the mark. Oops.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. But if you want to volunteer in any way, shape, or form, you just fill out this and they'd look at it and go, oh, so-and-so wants to volunteer for this. Or maybe you wanted to do something in the spring or the summer. If you fill it in now, you don't have to worry about it. You can forget about it. And then maybe a couple months down the road, oh, hey, how you doing? You said you wanted to volunteer. Well, we have this thing coming up in a couple weeks. Would you be interested in helping out with that? And, don't feel obliged to do it. People have lives. People have activities that pop up out of nowhere. So if you're unable to, sorry, I can't. But if you're inclined to volunteer and help out in any way, this is just going to be an easier way to link up people who want to help with organizations that need that help. So it's wonderful to see that they're moving on this and getting proactive with this type of technology. So if you want to learn a little bit more, like I said, full story is on page 6 of this week's edition of the Neepawa Banner Press, so you can find out a little bit of that information on your own. And like I said, Casper, I think that's a good idea. It's nice that they're trying to make this as streamlined and as simple as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I know it can be difficult sometimes trying to get volunteers together for different events. And, there's so much that goes on in and around the community. So having it sort of, a lot of it's focused in one area to be able to go to and say that you're looking for volunteers, or go to and say, hey, I want to volunteer for something or multiple somethings. Mm-hmm. Having that all in one spot will hopefully make that a little bit easier and get people matched up with everything that's going on.
That's right. All right, let's go over to the sports section. We'll run through that, or skate through that, since we're going to be focusing on hockey to begin here. The Neepawa Titans regular season in the Manitoba Junior Hockey League is now underway. Don't forget, if you can't get down to the events live and see them at the Yellowhead Center, you can always watch them on tape delay right here on NAC TV. Check your local listings. Check the little guide on your television. They all got them nowadays. Back in my day, Casper, you actually had to have the TV guide there. You
didn't have any of those scrolling guides or anything.
That's right. You had the little marker there. Ooh, Jeopardy's coming on at 6:30. We gotta stay tuned to watch that or something like that. And then we got real technologically advanced. We had that one channel, and it was only the one channel. We didn't have the guide that we could go through, but it was one channel where the guide would go through. But unfortunately, it was just a constant scroll, so you'd have to wait. It's like, I want to know what's on channel 7, but we're already at channel 13, so you just got to wait for it and hope for the best.
Just take a pause for like 10 minutes. It'll come back.
It's like, oh no, I turned my head slightly. I missed it again.
I blinked. Damn it.
My generation knows that frustration all too well. But that's what a wonderful world we live in, where we can find out what's on at any time. So find out right here on NAC TV when those games are going to be broadcast. I was able to be down there for the first 2 home games and focused mainly on the home opener in the story I wrote for this week's paper. It was a huge event, well put together, 557 paid attendance, great opening crowd for Neepawa. They were taking on a difficult opponent in the Portage Terriers over the last 5 years. I actually looked it up. They only beat them about 2-3 times in those 5 years. Last year, they didn't beat them once, not once at all during the season. So they're already doing better than last season because they were able to pick up a 3-1 win. Oh, sorry, spoilers. My bad. If you haven't seen it already, they picked up a very confidence-building 3-1 win over the Portage Terriers in their home opener. It was a huge game. Portage was really putting the pressure on them there in the second and third period specifically, really trying to get back into the game. But Neepawa was able to hold on. Mason LeBreau, the goaltender who started that game for the Neepawa Titans, had a huge outing. So I was able to get some information from him after the game, as well as Coach Kenny Pearson, who was pleased with the effort. There's always little things that need to be improved on. the first 10 games of the season usually are the ones where you're going to make those mistakes, you're going to make those errors, you're learning things, you're getting in tune with your line mates. Might be new people you haven't played with on ice before. So these are the types of things. And hopefully the Titans are going to be able to get through those 10 games and with a winning record. The last couple years, Titans have never been off to the best of starts, and it's really hit them come the midway point and at the end of the season when they're trying to get into the playoffs. And it's one of those things of every point in a league such as the Manitoba Junior Hockey League, every point matters. Even those overtime losses can all add up when it's all said and done. So hopefully the Titans will be able to build off that success they had against Terriers coming up this week. They also had a game against the Verdun Oil Capitals. I talk about that in there as well. I won't spoil it for you if you haven't seen it yet. So once again, stay tuned. Keep an eye on the listings for NAC TV. You can see the show. You can see it right here on NAC TV. And actually, it was interesting, just a little side note. Manitoba Junior Hockey League, all their social media, they show highlights of games. They show goals and whatnot. And they showed Neepawa's game, and they showed one of the highlights from the Verdun game, and I was astounded. Just the sharpness, the crispness of the picture was just amazing. I came in actually and mentioned it to Jeremy and Rain. It's like, wow, you guys using a new camera? Because that thing looks great, and you can see it. You'll have to tune in to see it for yourself. Even though we only show the Neepawa games, you can't see any other MJHL games on here. But thank goodness, because looking at the highlights from all these other ones, oh my God, are they putting like Vaseline on their screens or something? Like some of them, they're pointing up at the roof at times. Other times, they're pointing at somebody's shoe. Other times, it's blurry. The second period is completely blurry, Casper.
Oh, goodness.
It's not even just the fact that I'm blind as a bat. It's that it's actually blurry.
You know, they just have a unique take.
Yeah. Some teams are very avant-garde, using Dutch angles and all that, so for their cinema. So, but hopefully you'll tune in and watch the Titans on NAC TV. Just one last thing while we've got a couple minutes left. I want to put a shout out to Whitey's Fitness Body Shop. Some of their members recently competed at the Next Level CrossFit Championships. Although I'm not sure I can use the term, CrossFit is a brand name, so CrossFit-like event, So they competed at that in Winnipeg and had a very successful weekend. 3 of the teams that were involved podiumed, including one team that finished in first place. I was able to get the pictures from Whitey's as well. Thank you very much for that, and some of the background information. So it's wonderful to see some locals competing on a level such as that and succeeding on a level such as that. So once again, congratulations to you on that. We're coming up near our end. There's so much more we could be talking about, but that's why you got to pick up a copy of the paper. We didn't even touch the Farmer's Advocate, which appears in this week's edition of the paper, right, Casper?
Yeah, we have another nice photo there from Jody Baker. Very appreciative of that. Take a look at that in there. And some articles from the industry as well, courtesy of Sean Kayback. Very appreciative each and every time Sean sends us something in there from the industry and gets some of that information out there to our readers.
Another full write-up as well this week of the Gladstone Market Report, as well as some general business from the town of Carberry, trying to reach out and do a little more municipal sort of political stuff to inform you and keep you in the loop. So once again, thank you, as always, for tuning in to the Story Behind the Stories. If you ever have any suggestions or story ideas, we'll try and track them down. You can let us know about them by calling us at 476-3401. That's the number we can be reached at. Or you can email us at news@neepawabanner.com. Any information you have at all, try and send it our way, and we'll try and track it down. So once again, thank you very much, Casper. Appreciate it as always.
Thank you for having me here. I'm looking forward to the next one.
And thank you, as always, for tuning in and taking a little bit of time to learn about the story behind the stories. Have yourself another fantastic week.